Yeah, I'm doing this video just to shed some light on a few things that, well, actually one thing, not a few things, just one thing. The word husband. I'm gonna just get straight to the point. Um, Defining the word husband. Now, this means a lot to me, first of all, because I am a husband. I am a spouse. I wanted to bring light to it because um, there are many individuals that call themselves a husband, or many men that call themselves husbands, and never defined it. You know, even though I feel like it's our responsibility to define words that we use or names that we call ourselves. Even we should know the meanings of our own names. But if you call yourself a husband, you should know what that actually is. And some of us don't have a habit of actually looking up words, going to the dictionary and looking up words. Now, a small disclaimer: I realize that words change meanings from generation to generation. A lot of times, I realize that. I realize that there's probably an original definition, meaning in Hebrew, Baal. You got Isha. You know, you have different terms, which in the Hebrew it means master, but some actually resort to calling it actually like husband or whatever. But there is a definition that means like Lord or Master or anything like that. But even Lord or Master has a certain meaning as well. It doesn't all mean like to rule over you. There were some that assume that position, feeling as though that they could do that. But being Lord also means being the keeper, being the protector. Is less of the domination aspect of the word. But I don't even want to get into that part or whatever. There's a huge responsibility in being a husband, and there's a way to husband a family in the verb sense, which is actually appropriate. One can husband a family and not be married, actually. You can husband land. You know, you can keep land. Anyway, let me get to the definition. So I want to make this video as short as possible. But anyway, the word husband is commonly defined as a married man considered, to have a wife, to be in relationship to his wife. The word husband, when you break it up, H-U-S, hus, as well as band, you break those up. Hus meaning house. Band is basically, you're keeping it together. Let's think of a band, something that wraps something to hold it together. Bindi or occupier, tiller of the soil. Husband is actually an agricultural term. It means to till and to cultivate. See, I take to that. Why do I take to that? Because, I'll say this. If I take to it in that way, this means that I am to cultivate a family. I am to be careful with, the words that I use. In my life, words are synonymous with planting seeds. Okay, so the words that I speak are being sown into the lives of my families, and they are reaping or failing at the result of my words. And if it's something that I'm living out deliberately, the results will mirror what I'm putting out. And that's just pretty much like what I want to say. Like a loving husband will have a family that will yield a harvest of loving and nurturing words of a husband. we a lot of times think about the word nurture and a mother, but I strongly believe in being a husband. Nurturing, the idea of nurturing, a lot of times will come from a husband. There are times that a husband nurtures his wife, okay, and then it trickles down from the wife to the children. Any solid structure, even though there is equality throughout the entire unit, there are functions, okay? There are functions that are necessary, and if everyone realizes their function, even if it's decided within the family structure, that particular family structure, like what's going to work, it's beneficial to do that. It's beneficial to discuss what is going to work within this family, what is going to cause forward movement. And for me, the word husband, looking it up, defining it, embracing it, and not fighting with it, not trying to redefine it and do all that other stuff. One reason that I connect with it is because I've planted a seed before. I've seen it grow before. I've seen it grow into something. I've seen a seed in seed form, and it turned into a plant. It turned into a totally different thing than what it was before. So I have a reference point in planting seeds, like physical, seeds that you would put in soil. I have that reference point, and many of us do, who have gardens, who have flower gardens, who've planted watermelon seeds and apple seeds and orange tree seeds and all that other stuff. They have a reference point that, something that is small can grow into something very big. Something that is small can become deep rooted, strongly rooted, and when it's watered and it receives sun, it can turn into something that is fruitful, something that is beneficial. And it is also true in the negative sense. Whatever negative seeds you plant, you will reap a harvest of that. And that is also true in the family structure. What you say to each other, what you speak to each other, the words that you use, those things take root. And we use words every day, and we even feed words to ourselves. And that actually cultivates a mindset of each individual that is in your family. You can help or hurt your wife, you can love her to the point through your words where certain walls and all those things fall down, and she's able to be more vulnerable after that based on the words that you use. That's what a good, deliberate husband would do. A good husband won't teach his kids the wrong thing, which also, you have to be present. If you want to teach the right thing, you have to be present. And right now, I'm not talking about like absent. I'm not talking about like in a divorced sense. Like, you got to be present in your kids' lives. You still have to husband them. You know what I'm saying? Even if a divorce occurs or whatever, and even if you're not with your ex-wife, and if a divorce happened, you still have the responsibility to cultivate. You have to cultivate the life that you want to see, and you are cultivating the life that is coming from your mouth, whether you think so or not. And ultimately, the last thing that I want to say is, let's stop teaching our kids. Like, a lot of what we see in the world today is what children are being taught. Okay, what we're seeing in the world today, racism and all that other stuff, it's from the devil. Let's call it what it is. That's what it is. And nothing can happen on this earth until a person does it. Okay, we get thoughts, we entertain ideas that sometimes are our own ideas, but a lot of thoughts and ideas come from the spiritual realm, and it's a spiritual agenda. So if we entertain the wrong things, we will teach our kids the wrong things, and they'll teach their kids the wrong things, and so on and so forth. Please assess what you're teaching your children. Please assess it. If your parents taught you the wrong thing, don't teach your children that, because it's hard to unlearn it once those seeds are really deep rooted. Okay, be a good husband. Be a good husband, you know. Be aware of your actions, be aware of your words. Every single word and action is cultivating a path. It is cultivating uh, a thought pattern in the people that you love, you know. And I mean, this applies to every single individual, every person, but in a household, it it holds a little more weight. And yeah, just be mindful of what you're teaching your children, and assess whether or not what you were taught is good. Sometimes it's not good to teach your kids what you were taught. To be honest with you, I had to assess whether or not what I was taught. I mean, I believe that my parents did a decent job, but I still had to assess whether or not what I was taught, whether it was good or not good, and whatever had to be refined, I feel as though I've refined it. A lot of prayer involved. You have to look within. You have to ask yourself, like, is that building? Is that building? One concept that I've heard of before is in construction, and I'll do this one illustration and I'll get off. But in construction, it's actually more wise to, like, if you're measuring out a 2x4, let's just say, to 10 feet. Let's just say you want to measure it to 10 feet. And you measure it. You get your tape measure, you measure it to 10 feet. Now, to take that one 2x4, that single 2x4, and use it as the measurement to measure other 10 feet long 2x4s can give you a slight inaccuracy. It's better to take the same tape measure and measure every single 2x4 at 10 feet to make it exact every single time. But if you're taking the previous 2x4 to measure out another 2x4, it's going to be slightly off. And over time, if you keep doing that, you're going to end up with a 10.5 foot 2x4, and it means that it's off. So one and the same as it relates to beliefs and things like that. You got to go back to the original source. Go back to the original husband. Go back to the great husbandman, who we call God, which is something that I believe, because this is what makes me take to certain beliefs. Because when there's a change in a person's behavior, when they read certain words and they take it and it becomes their new identity, and they change as a person, and you do the same thing, imparting into your family, and they change. Come on now. We can't accept a narrative that the world feeds us that's not even true. We have to take to the original. Be a good husband, and good husbands submit to the best original information, the best original thoughts that were imparted unto people, and not allowing ourselves to redefine everything, not allowing ourselves to redefine something that is best for your life. That's just like taking a 10x4 that somebody else measured out and measuring it for your own life. Go to the original measurement and get the exact thing that is for your life, and allow for that measurement to define you, the most accurate measurement as it relates to your life, in being a good husband, so that we can teach the kids the right thing. And not only your kids, there are going to be other kids that you run into that you could be an example for, who don't have a father. So, I mean, this is what I gained from the definition of a husband as far as what I shared earlier in this video. It's not lordship, you know, and if it is lordship, that could still mean in its context, one that keeps his family. He's lording over his family. He prays for his family. Providing does not start with financial means. Providing starts with spiritual means first. What are you speaking about your family? You know, what spiritual impartations are you providing for your family? That's where financial means sprout from. So yeah, I just want to share that. It's been on my heart for a long time, and I don't hear that being talked about enough. All I hear is husband, you know, one who has a wife, or I hear people talking about marriage, or I hear them talking about family, or I hear them talking about managing a household, but you don't define what husband means. And I feel like there's a reflection in the world because of lack of knowing what that means. I don't know everything, but I feel pretty convinced about this. Thank you for listening to me. You long-winded.